It is one of the most secure structures in the world. It safeguards the vast wealth of the United States, and its name is synonymous with one of the most precious commodities in the history of the world: gold. But behind this building's stone exterior are secrets. Secrets so outrageous. Is there any gold in Fort Knox? We just don't know. So controversial. In my opinion, there is no such thing as an impregnable vault, so potentially dangerous. You cannot get answers, because the secret history would explode the market. That the public must be kept in the dark about them. You will be blown away if I tell you about Fort Knox. Some people think that there is a book that holds the most well-kept secrets of the United States of America. Only a few people are aware of the book's existence. But what would be in such a book, if there were one? Hidden pasts? Covert schemes? Secret lies? Is America's Book of Secrets a real thing? Major American banking institutions reported a slew of financial losses in July 2007. It is the first overt sign of an impending economic disaster that would plunge Europe and the U.S. into the worst financial downturn since the 1930s. The price of gold soars to almost $2,000 an ounce over the course of the following 4 years, the highest price ever recorded. The U.S. government's covert gold holdings are brought to light by the metal's extraordinary value. The U.S. government has been sharing information on its gold holdings in an opaque manner for far too long. It should come as no surprise that several speculations concerning the gold at Fort Knox have been sparked by this secrecy. Additionally, the public has a right to know the specifics of these assets from the government. The 4 U.S. mint depositories, Denver, West Point, the Federal Reserve in New York, and the largest, Fort Knox, are home to America's gold reserves. These reserves are as secure as they are hidden, as is their nature and extent. The blueprints for building a nuclear bomb are more likely to be available from the U.S. government than any precise, comprehensive accounting of how the U.S. gold reserve and the gold reserves of other Western countries have been allocated. The Fort Knox vault can only be opened by a presidential order, and since 1953, there hasn't been an audit of its contents. There is proof, of course, that the government is concealing something. According to the law, the President has direct authority over and oversight of the U.S. Treasury. Additionally, the Treasury not only enforces trade agreements, collects taxes, and prints money, but it also oversees America's most precious commodity, its gold. Because gold is the universal currency, militaries will include gold coins in its pilot survival kits rather than paper money. Additionally, the value of government currencies is determined by its worth. The price of government bonds and interest rates are also significantly impacted by the value of gold. Governments have traditionally attempted to regulate the price of gold for this main reason. The worth of all labor, capital, goods, and services worldwide is determined by the price of gold. Nothing else is there. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt banned U.S. citizens from privately owning gold in 1933 in an attempt to boost the country's economy during the Great Depression, which is when America's gold reserves first appeared. America nationalized its gold in 1933. It basically took it away from the American people. Roosevelt saw that the federal government's dominance over the economy was the only way to lift the nation out of that depression. Citizens had to surrender their gold coins, bullion, and even gold paper certificates at the then current exchange rate of $20.67 per troy ounce, while being closely monitored by federal marshals. Heavy penalties and a maximum sentence of 10 years in jail were the consequences of noncompliance. Almost overnight, U.S. gold reserves swelled to 5,000 tons, melted into 368,000 uniform bars, each weighing 27.5 pounds. 1 year later, Roosevelt raised the new fixed price for U.S. gold to $35 an ounce. Once he acquired all the gold in the country, he doubled its value. You can do that when you own it all. The difference is, the government had the profit, not the individual people. And that was the way that the New Deal attempted to jumpstart the economy. In less than 24 months, Franklin Roosevelt had consolidated the single greatest concentration of wealth in modern history. And to store it, he constructed the country's strongest fortress, Fort Knox. In the 1930s, we were concerned about rumblings of war in Europe. Additionally, the federal government was worried about our gold being kept in vulnerable coastal cities like New York and Philadelphia. Roosevelt made the decision to construct a vault for the gold. Additionally, it needed to be a respectable distance from the Atlantic shore. Roosevelt picked a site that was close to the Fort Knox military installation, in addition to being far from the coast. Additionally, the Army's 10,000 soldiers and M1 tanks continue to serve as a strong deterrent to anyone with plans to steal America's gold, even though the repository is still entirely under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Treasury. At Fort Knox, there is a military regiment that is completely times accountable in the event that the gold vault was attacked. Some have theorized that Roosevelt's choice of site may be connected to one of Kentucky's most colorful tales because of the fort's top-secret vault, secret guards, and wall of silence around its actual contents. It is said that during the Revolutionary era, the Founding Fathers truly believed that the U.S. Treasury should be concealed from the British. Additionally, as Kentucky was still a part of Virginia at the time, it appeared to be a very likely location. George Washington would have understood that at the time, there was no fortress that could have protected such a treasury. However, they did possess Kentucky, its woods, and a large number of caverns. The deep caverns around Fort Knox have long been associated with pirates and other criminals as a perfect location to hide their wealth. Because chunks of gold and silver have been discovered in central Kentucky over the years, the pirate legends do have some validity. But may a cave like this have actually been the United States' first gold repository? According to some, the answer is yes. They also cite colonial Englishman Jonathan Swift, a shadowy General George Washington associate who possessed a sizable estate in Kentucky, as evidence. One of the most well-known pirates in fiction may have been modeled after Swift. Robert Louis Stevenson was aware of Jonathan Swift's fable when he created the well-known Treasure Island, and a lot of people believe that he did construct Long John Silver based on the legend. The United States of America appears to be depicted on the map created for the book. When you look at the location where X indicates the treasure, it appears to be Kentucky from a geographic standpoint. Author Robert Prather speculates that gold might have been carried in salt barrels to hidden caverns on Swift's land holdings, which are just a few miles from the present gold repository, based on historical maps and correspondence. I believe there is a chance that the late 18th century events led to the construction of the gold vault in its current location. It is clear that secrecy has always been of the utmost importance when it comes to our national treasury, because Jonathan Swift held this property, which is almost in the backyard of the bullion depository, and we are not permitted to know much about its contents today. The Fort Knox gold reserves are valued at 147.3 million troy ounces, or trillions, according to official Treasury data as of today. More gold than the combined reserves of Saudi Arabia, China, Japan, Switzerland, and Russia. We appreciate you viewing, and if you think this video is highly educational, please show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel.